tried to make it Sunday, but I got so damn depressed that I set my sights on Monday and I got myself undressed. I ain't ready for the altar, but I do agree there's times when a woman sure can be a friend of mine. Well, I keep on thinking about you, Sister Golden Hair Surprise, and I just can't live without you. Can't you see it in my eyes? I've been one poor correspondent, and I've been too hard to find, but it doesn't mean you ain't been on my mind. Will you meet me in the middle? Will you meet me in the air? Will you love me just a little, just enough to show you care? Will I try to fake it? I don't mind saying I just can't make it. Well, I keep on thinking about you, Sister Golden Hair Surprise, and I just can't live without you. Can't you see it in my eyes? Now I've been one more correspondent, and I've been too hard to find, but it doesn't mean you ain't been on the mind. Will you
All right. Greetings and salutations to all my beloved airborne simians. And what up to any visiting sports fans? Fuck Damar. Fuck his handlers. Luciferian clown. I was going through the playlist and wanted soundbite and gonna kill him, and Sister Golden Hair came up and like frozen. Can't touch it. Can't touch Sister Golden Hair. Just let it play. Has nothing to do with Monday morning. Really, that was a Friday song. Have to play it. That's half of the two foundational Johnny all-time songs of all time. You get the other half whenever it pops up. Thanks, Jeff. Gape, good to see you. I guess I should send word out to the team. Let's see here. Come on without activating video if you like. Okay, so I have invited on not Flying Monkey, his words, fucking Flying Monkey, which is awesome. Fucking Flying Monkey, Michael. Says he's got some insight, excuse me, into this Beyond the Perv documentary from Tim IPS Ozman and what's his name? Josh Authentic Intent Swift. So I've invited Michael to come on and share his insights. Brian, good to see you, Tommy. No. Those are crossovers. You're not, listen to me. You're a flying asshole if you're a Jake to Johnny crossover. Noticing Jake's latest live stream. I caught it at the end where he was giving instructions on how to shroom. Eye roll. I notice that he and fans are carefully avoiding mentioning me. Because I love you, Jake, but you're Jake the fucking coward. You're Jake the spineless. I think I know why you're avoiding me. It's because I've pricked your conscience. Because, as I've said, I appreciate you for your integrity and what you've done, but you've gone overboard. And you don't want to admit that. Because you going overboard, you being the asshole, was a big part of your success. So, whether or not, excuse me, let's look at his number one target. Jaronism Campanella. Jaron, speaking openly, of his wife's adultery with his best friend, which apparently is a product of his twisted open marriage. And I've got it. I saved it. Where the asshole explains this, why he says cuck, what it means, and how he applies it to Jaron, and supposedly it's accurate. A husband that likes to watch his wife have sex with other people. So honestly, bro, if that's true, who the fuck is calling me? This is what I have to do.
Hello?
Yes?
Hello? Hi, this is Wacky Walker calling.
Okay.
About the one call.
Okay, great. You got... I'm sorry. I am so desperate to have them. So I enjoy throwing them outside, and the bright colors will be helpful. But if you want to send 3 swirls, ma'am, go ahead and send 3 swirls. That'll work fine. Oh, bless you. That's fine. You already have that on the account, right? Oh, I am actually I'm actually in an interview. Can I give you a holler back or send you an email with the info? No, let me give you a call with the information. Correct. Yes, ma'am. Let me use his phone number. Great. Thank you. I will give you a holler today, okay? Thank you, dear. Talk to you in a little bit. All right. Now, usually, when the phone number has no name on it, I've got a lot of those that are prank calls. That was actually returned. Got these great little outside indestructible balls for the babies, and they were too small as where they were gonna swallow them, and that was part of the return. So, why is this not working? I'm glad I took that call. That are prank calls. That was actually mute. All right, so Jake and Jaron with his open marriage, regardless, as bad as that looks, haircut tomorrow. As bad as that looks, still not necessary. Still should be off limits. Let's look at the big picture. Stop. Leave him alone, you fucktard. Let's look at the big picture. I think that Jake is being motivated. There's a lot of overlap. Jake is going too far because he's on the outside of the cult and it pisses him off and he doesn't want to be in the cult, but he also is pissed off to be on the outside of the cult, which I have always been. But in this sense, it's strictly the flat earth cult. Now, one very, very important issue on the surface. Okay, so you got a bunch of controlled opposition turds whose job it is to give partial information, bad information. No, Tommy, you're not going to trigger the Wolfman today because it was mellow. It was America's Sister Golden Hair, which I didn't want to play this morning, and I got locked. As soon as I started playing, I couldn't stop it. I had to play it out. There's 2 foundational Johnny songs. That's one of them. I'll share the other one. This is an Easter egg. I'll share the other one whenever. Is that an Easter egg? No. It's a puzzle. I'll share the other one whenever it pops up. And that playlist is long, so it may not pop up for a while. As important as cosmology is, you got a bunch of frauds in there, riding popularity, being frauds. It's not to the point that it requires a vicious all-out attack. However, there have been accusations. One of them I trust implicitly. That many of these individuals have been involved in. And here's Mike. So many of these individuals have been involved in defrauding their audience. I can tell you for a fact that a very, very dear friend, Black Arrow Mark, has paid for 2 pieces of Tim Osman's art. Never showed up. I've heard much worse about Tim Osman defrauding people. Now that goes outside of simply being controlled opposition to being a thief. I've heard that members in this group, Jaron and others, have supposedly set up a. I got you. I can see you, Mike. Where they were asking for donations to conduct flat Earth experiments and do a documentary, and it never happened. And so they just stole the money. All right, so in comes Mike, and you're muted right now, Mike. So unmute to pop in. I'm ready for you, pal. You have insight into this cabal, what Jake the Asshole calls the cult. Check test. Give me some audio.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Gotcha.
I've got about 3 different headsets, but I don't have a microphone. But I just wanted to do a sound check first.
I hear you okay, Mike. I hear you okay. Give me what you got, brother.
Okay, where are you at, man? You're on. Oh boy, man. You're on Infinite Plane Society, right?
Well, yeah.
what's
Anybody,
his name?
listen. It's all wide open, pal. Anybody in this cabal, in this cult that you think is a fraud, give me your personal experience with them.
Well, golly, I don't even know where to start, man. I mean, I know them all pretty inside from way back. I was pretty big into the IPS thing. You know, this got to be 5-6 years back. And when what's his name again?
He's got like 10 different aliases.
I know it, man. I really supported him, you know, for a while. And then he started talking about Well, I don't know what you know about Mike, the guy that went in the rocket with the flat Earth.
Yes.
The silly business.
Was
with
it like Mad Mike, something like that? Yeah.
Yeah, Mad Mike. When he started that, man, I mean, Tim was his name, Tim.
Well, one of them, another was Jack Larson. Another one was Tom Newton. When he went and spoke to the Albuquerque City Council, he called himself Mark Sargent. So this guy goes out of his way.
And I've met all them people. I've met all of them. Mark, Karen B., Joshua Swift, the whole flat earth guy, David Weiss, which is the only one I got anything much good to say about. David, I like David.
Let me tell you real quick. So I'm going to highlight and underline that. Jake the Asshole attacks Dave Weiss and throws him out as a shill, but he's being sloppy about it. I have not heard Dave Weiss mislead anyone. Jake says that
Jake used to call himself Flat Earth Asshole.
Right.
Yeah.
So my only thing with Dave is I would say Dave perhaps has bad judgment. He allowed himself to be pulled in with Jaron, and that was more of a circus. That really, obviously, the intent was not to help people get information, give them information. It was just to entertain and just to distract. So, and I think that was on purpose. And I do think that Jake was the fact that they pulled that blonde female in there, and she had no business being in the truth community. The fact that they pulled in Alex Stein is just, his job is to be a comedian and a buffoon. This was not an intent to give truth seekers what they desperately wanted, which is just meat and truth. It was an intent to entertain and distract. So he got pulled into that. The bottom line is I've not seen. So from what I can tell, Mike, for Dave, this is a business, and that's the only critique I would say, and that's dangerous. For me, I don't get any money out of this. This is for truth. But for Dave, this is a business. So that's my only critique. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. Well, so this is like in the beginning of, the flat earth movement as it was. I got right in there, in the beginning, way back with Flat Earth Asshole there. Was one of the first people, the comedian guy he was with at the time that they did the shirt, and the comedian act, and they would walk on the street and say, ask people what they thought about. I think it had the moon lander on it, and they really clown people out on the streets. That was one of my first introductions to Flat Earth. And then I got pretty involved with old Tim Osmond and Infinite Plane Society. And we were mostly trolling people, like professional trolls 100 times. One of the greatest moments we had was we trolled like an NBA Finals game chat room with Flat Earth, and we blew that thing. We shut the chat down. It was, and it was fun. I mean, at the time. But, I was growing then. I was growing in the truth community.
There's a balance, pal. There's a balance. And honestly, I would say there's utility to that. But it's kind of like there's so much of truth. I love you, brother. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Mike, there's so much of truth that is synonymous with, for us Christians, sharing the gospel. Whereas if you're standing on a street corner using a bullhorn telling everyone they're going to burn in hell, unless you're an Adventist, which you would say they're just going to disappear, that is very, very limited. The best thing you can do is to build relationships. Listen to what your audience needs and then tailor your message like a sniper rather than a machine gunner. Tailor your message to what they need. But yeah, there's a utility for that. I mean, it works two ways. I had a bunch of Tim, whatever he wants to call himself, fans do that here and jump in and bring in a lot of Jew baiting stuff. So I'd say it's very limited. But John Paul, Doc, this is fucking Flying Monkey Mike, who is very excited to come in and give his personal experience around authentic intent, Josh Swift, and Jacob, I keep saying it's so he's got a bunch of different names. And again, I'm not
Good to
trying
meet you,
to
Mike.
war.
Yeah, John, nice to meet you, man. I've been watching you guys, and I really, like your work. I respect you guys, and let me get on into, and I'll try to make long story out of short of where I went from there. I let Tim have it, IPS there, when he decided to do the Mad Mike thing. I drew the line there. I said, "What are you doing, man? This is going to make us all look like a big clown show, and this is not going to be good." And so we parted, man, and not with nothing less than me giving him the finger of, I was mad,
Mike, there are some people that say that Mike's not dead, that he was bought off by the billions of dollars of NASA and the government to disappear. The bottom line is his death is a mockery of those that question spinning globes.
Yeah. So from there, on to the whole Mark Sargent flat earth movement, and that went on, and I got pretty knee deep with a bunch of them people. And then when the flat earth conference came to Dallas, I got to meet them all. And
who sponsored it? Who created it, Mike?
I guess that was all Mark, not Mark Sargent, but what was the
Robbie Davidson?
Robbie Davidson.
Wow.
And I never, ever did I really like his work that much. He was the one guy I didn't never really like that much, or Mark. I never liked Mark a lot. But
well, here's the only accusation I got against Robbie is that Robbie, the Christian Robbie Davidson, who was going at this from the same perspective that we do, that questioning Jesuit spinning globes brings the Bible back out of being a mockery and into a science textbook. And the accusation is, Jake has made this, and I feel like I agree with it, is that Robbie Davidson was a fraud who was only in it for the money. And as soon as the money dried up, he disappeared. And he's no more material, and he really could care less about the utility of questioning globes to validate the Bible. So that's my biggest concern with Robbie Davidson.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a long time, but what happened is and I spent a little time that day or in a 2-day period here in Dallas. We all went downtown to the JFK Memorial, and then we all went to the American Airlines Center where we did a bunch of flat earth stuff. They were having a Mavericks game at American Airlines Center that night here in Dallas. And we just hung out, and hung out at the bar, and there was a lot of stuff, weird stuff happened then. Man, I'm starting to even lose track of some of the names, now it's been so long. And
it's okay, pals. The bottom line is you are my on-the-spot correspondent. I can't buy something like this. Your personal experience is critical. Go ahead, jump on.
But was Patricia Steer involved with that one? I know she's from Houston. She's a Texan. But
yeah, I don't remember.
She seems only like the cruises and the highfalutin events. I don't know.
I don't think she came to Dallas, and I don't remember meeting her, but there was a lot of drama that weekend that went down in the bar one night. And there was a guy from Canada that used to they got their hands on him. And it was pretty weird. But what I want to say about Joshua is, I had all the documentation and court papers of his arrest and the whole inside story at one time, but I'm on a different computer now than where that information was, and I'm not even sure I want to mess with it. But, I got pretty upset with Joshua when I found out about that stuff. And, I never did. Boy, I had it bad for Karen B. I can't stand that girl. And there's some deep-rooted badness that goes along with her and her family, I believe, from San Francisco. her family is connected to arts. They have an art, well, what would you say, like a gallery, I think, or something. And she was a big problem in my mind.
I got to say that San Francisco is a hub for the Jesuits, particularly out of the University of San Francisco. The former president of the University of San Francisco, Stephen J. Privet, S.J., was the personal mentor to Nancy Pelosi. And let me just, for the audience, to give the audience an understanding, where Mike is talking about the Tim Osman documentary Behind the Perv, which is a play on the Netflix documentary Behind the Curve. And he focuses on, to me, an ancillary character, Joshua Authentic Intent Swift, who was arrested and tried for having a sexual relationship with a teenage girl half his age. He was in his 30s and she was like 14. Before this doc, I've never heard of it. And so I guess the bulk of this is how the flat earth cult coalesced around Josh Authentic Intent Swift and defended it.
I was right in the middle of that cult, right in the middle of it. And so what happened, and I want to say Josh has been victimized by these people also. Truly. You understand that?
I do. And I also say that Josh at 30 seducing a 14-year-old, it still is within the realm of normal human deviation, that we all have to keep our flesh at bay, and there are many of us that some just don't care, others don't see the reason to discipline themselves, and others are just weak. And so Josh seducing a 14-year-old girl, it's different from the real satanic going after, as Kathy O'Brien said, that George H.W. Bush had a thing for toddlers. George H.W. Bush had a 3-year-old little girl named after their grandmother who died of leukemia, supposedly. That's the real hardcore satanic evil, as opposed to typical flesh that I think Josh can fall into. So, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, Josh, man, I don't know what to say about him. I forgive him as a Christian, and I've had conversations with him. So I hate to say anything here that would make me look like an unforgiving Christian.
Well, no, wait a minute. Let's just say, hey, pal,
him.
let's just say we understand his flesh. It's not up to us to forgive him. That's between him and his victim and Christ. And the forgiveness only comes with his repentance. So if he comes and says, let's just say, Mike, he comes to you and says, Mike, I let you down. I was a spokesman for what you believed in. I was a leader for I was a public figure. I let you down. Please forgive me for letting you down. Then you can forgive him. But outside of that, repentance has to come first.
Okay, so let me ask you what you know. Karen B was the one that interviewed him with this situation, the Behind the Perv thing, and she was running some cover for him, trying to pump him up, in the public eye, basically there. Sort of, that was what the intent was supposed to look like. But, now Karen, and what do you know about Brian Stavely? Because they were like this, Karen B and Brian Stavely. And I used to hold a wrench on a whole bunch of Brian's channels. But, I was with another crowd of people that, there was I hate bringing these names up, Photo Helix. Are you familiar with that name?
I'm not.
Man, this is going to go big, man. Okay. He's dead now. He was a friend of mine, man, close friend of mine. he actually that right there. And you'll come into
You had him autograph instead of James Strong. You had him autograph your Strong's Concordance.
No, he gifted this to me as
No
a friend.
kidding.
At the time, we were good friends, and I have a Young's Concordance, and I'd always wanted a Strong's, and he says, "Hey, I got a copy right here. I'll send you in the mail." We were good friends. He's dead now, but his name was John. Anyway, yeah. John's called Photo Helix, and he had a lot of followers. He was a Mandela effect guy. King James only crowd is what I call him. And I got into this Mandela crowd, King James thing, and we were doing this just like me and you were doing quite a bit back then. And there's another guy that has a big Mandela effect channel, and let me think what he calls himself. Now, he is now a private military contractor that's a Black Hawk helicopter pilot, and his name is Mike. And he runs a channel, he's still up to date, called Awakened Saint. Okay? And you'll find him. He had to change his name once. I believe you'll be able to find him, though. Awakened something, but he was always Awakened Saint before some of this, and his name's Mike. And Mike, Photo Helix, and then there was another guy named Jesus Freak Computer Geek. And he's still out. He's still around. He's not such a bad guy. His name's David. Jesus Freak Computer Geek is. And he's a pretty decent fella, I think, so to speak. But he was running with this crowd too, and I was. And we were doing shows quite a bit. Photo Helix had a thing called the Hot
Wait
Seat.
upon the Lord constantly.
And we'd do a show and put people in the, and it was kind of a,
Hey guys.
grill you with some
Yes,
questions, and you're in the hot seat, and it was but he had a big following in Photo Helix and Awakened Saint, and it was like the trifecta of, stuff going on. Well, man, all of these people were military, all of them, and a lot of things started to smell funny for me. And there you go, there's Mac. And man, we had some bad falling out. I mean, these people, man, they smashed me out of a community on a live show with it went out to hundreds of thousands of people. Put it that way. They don't ever want to see me again. But I got also real involved with Stavely, Mike, and Photo Helix, and a little bit with Jesus Freak, because he was, but not as much. I had a few emailings and stuff with Jesus Freak, David. But what ended up happening was I held all these wrenches on Stavely's channel, and we were really trying to bring Stavely in as a truther to the Christian side of it, because he was not he wasn't a Christian, so to speak. And man, he's a terrible guy, Stavely.
Well, let me get you focused, Mike, and ask you what specifically of each individual that you have are your bad experiences that we need to warn the audience about. This is not a hit piece. This is not war on anyone. This is just a heads up to audience members. And as soon as you share what you want to share, go ahead.
All right. Just bottom line, get to it all, man. I made good friends with one of the other moderators, okay? And I started to suspect some funny business, a data mining operation, of military data mining operation was afoot. And I became aware of it, and I started putting this together as a researcher. And I mean, it involved a big network of, and it went all the way to the White House, man. And they're practicing, they fill the chat rooms up. That's the most dangerous place in the world, it's a chat room. And I tell people that because, they were data mining us all and they had plants in the chat and they were practicing nudge theory. They had analytical teams that were data mining everybody in a group, and these people would push ideas into the community to just nudge us in certain directions, you understand, away from truth, and keep us, on the fringes of the real truth, which, now, man, I'm just all about these Jesuits and stuff, just right where you're at with it's what I think, where the kick in the pants needs to go. And so anyway, man, I started to notice these things and I buddied up with another moderator. Well, me and him got real tight and I can expose his name. But what I want to tell you, his name is phony and his name just breaks down to, important internet cop. That's what his name means. And we befriended each other. We did a lot of work until I started to suspect he was in on it. And then spiritual things started happening and I unraveled that, he was part of it. And they had me surrounded, man. And, the very guy that, I had started to put together all this research from, wasn't it? He was an insider. He was an internet police. They're just, it's a military operation, man, using nudge theory, invading these chat rooms, getting their influence in on the people to just keep you on the fringes of the real truth, And
pause. Let me highlight and underline what you're saying. Let me back you up. Okay. So first and foremost, a tree is known by its fruit, names, places, and dates. I have an identical resume. Born and raised Roman Catholic, 20 years in the military. Judge me on what I present to you, and go from there. Your concern about data mining and misdirection, I think, is extremely valid. Now, big picture, why the hell would the government and the military and intelligence agencies put resources, your tax dollars, you pay for them to infiltrate you, to take your personal identification information, to put you on a list, and to misdirect you away from truth? Why would the government do that when the government is sworn to protect you, unless the government was malignant, which what I found out in the military, the government was your biggest enemy, not China, not Russia, the United States government, and that is because it's controlled by a foreign, malignant, sovereign entity, the city-state of Rome. In relation to, my personal experience, Craig Sawyer, the former Navy SEAL, when he started Veterans for Child Rescue, and at first I thought that was a great idea. I want to be a part of that. And I knew something was wrong with the way he was ignoring me, and I was doing the same show right after him, and then he came on again, and yet I wasn't hearing back from him. And then when I finally got in touch with this organization, they sent me an application, and they wanted everything from me right on down to me cutting off my pinky and sending that in too. What do you want all this information for? And I said that in the app. I said, listen, I have a problem with me sending you my social security number, my driver's license, my full name, and my address, and blah, 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 blah. And that's exactly what that is. That is the pedophile machine wanting to know who is energized to stop them. Tell me who you are. And then this is how the machine suddenly, when you were nowhere near Washington demonically controlled on January 6th, guess what? They say you were anyway. Then they kick in your door, and then this whole new broad range of new gun control laws, and they can help themselves. They say, oh, look at this. You've got this, and this gun. Did you know the ATF has made this illegal? So now you're going to go to prison forever and ever. You see how this game works? And they can pick you off one at a time, which is how this data mining is so useful to them.
Yeah, and all of these people, man, there was a lot more on it. But, I have some friends too, One of my friends happened to be a Linux-trained hacker in the military, right? He's a little thrown off, but he's pretty good. And, man, I kicked the hornet's nest on this deal, you see. And I want to throw these names out there, and I'm going to give these 2 names to you. I want you to look real hard at them. And when you do, you'll say, this guy's bona fide, that he understands, because these are fake names that I'm going to give you. And, the moderator that, I guess you could say he infiltrated my and we formed a little research team just like you got now. But I was leader, and then they were trying to steer me. At every turn away from, I was ready to blow a hole in Karen B's ass. Excuse my language. Because she was really bothering me. Her and Stavely, they're awful. They were back then. I hear she's trying to be a Christian now. But in the past, she had people, they were, I don't know, got the crystal carrying crowd, and they're kind of new agey big time. And I told you she's an artsy fartsy. That goes way back generational. Her family owns a gallery in San Francisco. And I'm not sure she's a woman, but whatever.
All right, so listen. Let's say focus.
I had it bad for her.
I'm gonna when you're done, Mike. I'm gonna have you take off. I'm gonna go back to my normal show for the guys. So let's stay focused on anything else that is of substance that we need to warn the audience about.
Well, that's just the main thing.
Okay.
Now I'm afraid that these analytical teams that invade these things, those are probably not, this stuff's being run by an AI team of analytical, probably at this point. So who knows how sophisticated this could get, and with the players in it. Oh man, it goes on. But
we're dealing with billions of dollars of government budget stolen from us. Billions of dollars stolen from us, turned around and aimed right back at us, which is why I say stop voting, stop paying taxes. Even though that's dangerous. I haven't had a bank account, Johnny. I haven't had a bank account. Be proud of me. I haven't had a bank account in probably 13 years. And, man, I do it old school now. And I've made it. I'll bet you meticulously go over your budget, and you regularly check all these payments that go out that the machine uses to bleed people.
It's awful, man. But I really, man, I'm a full-time caretaker for my elderly mother, and I'd probably be homeless if it wasn't for this at this point. But, because I went through a terrible divorce, and I got in some trouble and went to prison even back. This is 10 years ago, man. My daughter got involved in some gang banging, and I had to clean that up, okay? And that's the long...
Glad to have you on the team, pal. I'm glad to have you on the team.
I cleaned it up. I never aimed a gun at a human being, but, the bullet went through their car and hit somebody, and I did 2 years because that was a 22 to 20, and I got the minimum on it because the county knew that those people were at my home under criminal mischief when this went down. I broke the law because they were not on my property as I was chasing them down with this gun. But anyhow,
tough personal experience,
but a rough run,
It makes you who you are, and there's no doubt in my mind, Mike, that for me as a Christian, the Lord Jesus Christ has brought you in to share the truth. When they do this stuff in secret, that's all we have. They stole all the money. They stole the internet. They stole all the resources. All we have is an interdimensional help, as far as I'm concerned, speaking as a Christian, that comes from Jesus Christ. So
I'm going to spell this name out for you.
Okay, put it in the chat.
The guy that infiltrated me, that, you know, this ended up going to a live show, and they stomped me out of this community. That went well when you add up all the players in all these different communities. This went out to hundreds of thousands of people. So I ain't no stranger to the game at all. I mean, hell could come down on us over these names that I'm fixing to drop.
All right, send them to me in the chat, and then we'll have you take off, and I'll start my regular show with the boys. Okay, pal?
So I just want you to look at this name, because it's a fake name, and its meaning is hidden within, you know.
Go ahead, John Paul.
Yeah, just one question for Mike before he takes off with us. It seems like the controlled opposition's main strategy is to create cult of personality and to character indict the individuals involved, whereas the proofs of a flat Earth have not really been touched. What I wonder is, since most of the forerunners of the flat Earth community have now seemed to be controlled opposition, if not picked opposition, are you aware of any evidence for the world not being a spinning globe that has been planted erroneously? Because really, it just comes down to the evidence. It doesn't matter about any of these people. Let God be true and every man a liar, as the Bible says. But are you aware of any tactics such as bringing in false pieces of evidence that we then would spout off again and be made to look at?
Such as what Jake the Asshole says, this AE map, the whatever azimuth, equatorial, whatever map that he says is purposefully flawed, that we all promote this map, and then the globalists that know what they're doing can come in and tear us apart. Are you familiar with any evidence?
Oh, yeah, man. I've got the AE map. It's not on my wall right now, but that stuff is usually all over my wall, but I'm repainting because this place is cigarette stained. I'm repainting the house right now. But, and I'm aware of there could be some flaws in that map, you know.
This is why, Mike, this is why what we do is we question the spinning globe cosmology. We don't promote alternatives because we're not sure of the alternatives. What we are sure of is that we've been lied to. And so our job is to throw the bullshit flag on the lies and let people search for their own truth in the meantime.
Sure, none of this is released. None of it is released without intent. Period.
Agreed.
They're using us at every time with partial truths, and that's the crux of it, I guess, you know. And then, you know, but these two names I gave you right there, you can just look at them. Vital is important. Me is actually me. This is supposed to be of Russian descent, and he was supposed to be from Australia. Alev is a 33rd cent Bulgarian. It's a copper coin. Okay. And I mean, I got confirmation straight from the Holy Spirit that everything I was on was true and real and correct. And this goes all the way to your buddies. I know you know David Carrico and John Pounder's names. And I've been all the way to Indiana to the Red Puritan barn, which, you know, I got a whole weird story.
I call those guys, "Now you won't see Johnny on TV," because I was supposedly being considered as a guest, and they said, "We're not interested in that guy," because clearly
I've shook David Carrico's hand and John Pounder's hand too, and I probably would never go back to Indiana. They're in Tell City, Indiana.
That figures.
This shit, you can't make it up, man. I've driven right to the barn, man. It's I don't know, got to be 1,200 miles from my house. And but I made a point that I just had to see all these people face to face, as many of them as I could, and shake their hand and see what you know, because there's something to that when you can really get in, you know, meet
Absolutely.
somebody.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are things you can tell from a human being by being in contact, which is why so many of them avoid that contact.
So let me go back to that name, Vitali. Me literally means me. Lev is a 33rd cent copper piece of a Bulgarian copper piece called a lev. You can look that up. Sky. Well, what's the sky? That's the net, the firmament above us. So he literally is named Vitali. That word means vital, which means important. He is an important sky cop. 33 cent copper piece. Now, he brought a guy on the team that was supposed to be the best researcher ever. And we set up a Discord. They had Discord. I set a Discord up. This guy's name was Bob Dazzler. Now, look the history on that name. You know, Bobby Dazzler. It's kind of a UK English term, I think, right? People say he's a real Bobby Dazzler, you know, and
it's pretty obvious. It's obvious that these are created personalities, and their job was to misdirect.
Fabricated, you know.
All right, pal. Listen, I'm gonna let you go and get on with the regular show. As long as anybody else, Bill, do you have anything for Mike? Okay, Doc, do you have any questions for Mike?
No.
Okay. All right, pal. So listen, outstanding info. Think on it, and if you come up with stuff that you want to share, try jot down some notes, and be happy to bring you back. Okay.
Nice to meet you, Mike. Thank you, man.
Man, I appreciate it, and I really I hope maybe that gave a little bit. It's a long story, and it just keeps going. But really, this data mining thing, and how deep and how many players are really out here infiltrating our communities. That's the important message that I guess that for today, you know, that we get out of this is,
got it.
Man, this community was wrought in agents. And
absolutely.
Disinfo. And yeah, you know, so I appreciate you bringing me on and sharing with me. I love your show, and I'm happy to meet y'all. And, you know,
love you back, Mike. I could tell it was something I needed to do. So stay in touch, and I'll bring it back anytime you have something more for us, okay?
Yeah, I got to get to reading this book sometime when I get time, you know. But
you live your life, pal. It'll come when it's ready.
There's an audiobook version if you need help, man.
Okay, yeah, great. Yeah, that'd save me some time.
Some videos of those.
And outstanding work from those two guys.
Great, yeah, I know, man. Y'all do great work, guys. You're really, man. You know, strong crowd right here, man. That's what I like about y'all.
All right, Mike. Be blessed. Have a good day, pal.
Bless you.
All right, guys.
Is that Flying Monkey Mike, or is that a different Mike?
No, that's a new mic for us. And listen, so Agape says, "Hey, great new team member." You're all team members. That's Mike, who is just a fan that when I sent out information apologizing for not being able to put anything out over the weekend, Mike responded, "Hey, Johnny, I know these guys personally. I've met a lot of these guys. I'd love to talk to you guys. Fine, let me bring you on the show." And I thought it was a good thing to do. So that's all you guys. Let's see here.
He sounded quite the character.
Absolutely. It is definitely worthwhile to have him come on and share his personal experiences. Listen, I don't have the resources or the money to go on site and to travel and to do the on-site. So there we go. There's the personal witness. Go ahead, John Paul.
His experience reminds me a lot of what it was like being a part of the 9/11 truth movement, quote unquote. And there was a lot of great stuff going on in that movement. We would go down to Ground Zero like every Saturday and pass out flyers, DVDs, just talk to people, hold up banners, blah, blah, blah. But there was always the weirdest characters, the weirdest like extra content. It just seemed like a consistent tactic from the intelligence community, honestly, to infiltrate or to Actually, one of their main tactics is to start the movement by themselves and recruit legitimate people, all the while being steered by people that have malicious intent. But just the whole time he kept going on, name after name after name, I was making associations in my head with all these kooks in the 9/11 truth movement that would bring up the weirdest theories and kind of mix everything together. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who did what. It doesn't matter who's been in bed with underage. It doesn't matter about any of the personalities. The melting point of steel is higher than it could be melted with kerosene jet fuel, period. But that's proof. You know, the moon shadow is going to be warmer than the moonlight. The moonlight is colder than moon shadow, period. The sun is not shining off the moon. We've been lied to. It's about the facts. It's about the proof. It's not about any of the people. And, same thing goes with anything you want to talk about. So it's good to get down to nitty gritty, especially when you've got questionable sources coming this way and that way. It's great to get a hunch on somebody and do the background research. But really, at the end of the day, just even getting involved in these kind of groups and this movement of, it doesn't matter. The truth is the truth. We need to find out the truth and get beyond it because there's a bigger battle at hand. And
that's why, and this is why this is so important. Also very grateful for John Paul and his personal experience with We Are Change. And we've got the video of John Paul as a cameraman confronting the murdering piece of shit, Joe Scarborough. And his Joe Scarborough and his hoe Mika Brzezinski, the daughter of the godfather, the founder of Al Qaeda, as well as the Trilateral Commission, and nobody knows that, devout Roman Catholic demon rat leftist Zbigniew Brzezinski, the Pole, Jimmy Carter's national security advisor. So this is critical. It's absolutely critical that people understand. I have this in the docket to be discussed. Walter Weiss responds to, why don't you just preach the love of Jesus? Meanwhile, there are these vicious people with evil intent, with limitless resources they stole from you they rob from you, and then it's like going into your house, taking your gun, and then coming back and shooting you with it. Same thing. Steal your money and then weaponize it, use it to attack you. So this is so critical. I'm going to turn it over to you guys for a minute and put these little pain in the butts outside, and we're going to keep hitting this why discernment is critical and what that's all about. God, guys, I'll be right back. And John Paul, William, I know not to turn the wheel over to Doc. Yeah. Go ahead, guys.
Doc can do fine when he puts his mind to it.
Yeah. How's it going, JP?
Good, Bill. I hope your camping trip was good, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yep.
I think one thing that's encouraging compared to the 9/11 truth movement is that it really does seem like the flat earth, call them what you will, agents provocateurs within the community really have no strategy besides cult of personality and personality smearing. What would happen in the 9/11 truth movement was all of these bizarre theories, like akin to what Judy Wood was talking about, space beams and this kind of thing. This side would say, it was particle beam weapons from the moon. No, it was from outer space. No, it was this, It was that. And it would fill it in with backfill the entire community with a lot of iffy theories with little to no supporting evidence. Whereas here, I'm not seeing a lot of that because I really just think that a long time ago, I saw some video about an artificial intelligence gathering thing that the elite relied upon to aggregate information and make predictions. And they were saying that no matter what variables they fed it into for the future, for the next 30, 40 years, the end result was that everybody was going to wake up from the large scale deception that they had been under. There was just no other way around it. The truth was going to make an exponential jump into the mainstream minds, and there's just nothing that could be done about it. So
Right.
the more I think about flat Earth and the way that it has just jumped onto the scene in the last 8 years, 10 years at the most, is that it must have been controlled opposition to begin with. But it really seems like perhaps a lot of the personalities involved and then the individuals that just become involved have gone about proving what they can. Great examples of the level state of water across great bodies of water such as Lake Michigan, where there ought to be, if the measurement of the Earth was a giant sphere, then there ought to be some angle of blockage when the curvature of the Earth begin to appear, and
because
there's not.
that lake is so big. I mean, you could look at a map and see how big those lakes are, and they can see all the way over. They could see the shores of Canada.
I thought it was a mirage, right? Wasn't a mirage?
Yeah, they call it a mirage. Yeah,
They call it a mirage.
That's pretty bad
But
damage
with
control,
anything, JP, with anything, especially conspiratory, such as 9/11 and many other things, it does bring out the kooks sometime. There was a guy that a few years ago, I can't remember his name. He was in the truth community, a big guy in the truth community. And he talked about, I mean, he was spot on with 9/11, how all the buildings in New York was a controlled demolition. I mean, he had facts, he had names, places, dates, the whole thing. And then after he moved on to his next subject of alien bases on the dark side of the moon.
I mean, does that sound like a kook, or does that sound like controlled opposition? Because people become crazy.
Right. But what they do is they present a lot of facts up front. Okay. They'll bring all the truth out right up front, and then they'll turn around and swing it in a different direction. And yeah, I agree. It's controlled opposition. Go ahead, Doc.
I would say it does work, right? Because most people want to be entertained. They don't want the truth, or they
absolutely.
Yeah, there's a form of entertainment.
Giving Doc the wheel is like that scene out of Fight Club. You want to have you ever been in a car accident? You've never been in a car wreck? Oh, you've got to experience. Anyway, okay, so right from the professor's mouth, says John. No, wait, that's a different one. That's translations. Let's do just preach the love of Jesus. Okay, so real quick, for any visiting Damar Hamlin fans, we're all born-again Christians. We are not exclusive. We do not beat you over the head with the Bible. We're just explaining our worldview, our prejudices, and our biases, which everyone has. The truth that we have received, the motivation, if there's ever a chance for someone to be somewhat trustworthy, it is to have that kind of motivation that is above their own personal gain, above their own personal desire. I feel, as do my friends, that we are accountable to an all-knowing, all-seeing God. Not this, okay? Not the watcher, not the peeping Tom. An all-knowing, all-powerful God. And as a result, we give you the truth as we see it. We don't hold anything back. We have nothing to gain. None of us is making any money.
Right. And we're not going to spin it off in another direction. Suck you in, like I was talking to JP earlier. Some of these people, they'll suck you in with the truth, like the 9/11 truth, and then they'll spin it around and say, "Oh, there's alien bases on the dark side of the moon."
I use this example all the time.
All of a sudden, my red flag came up, which is on its way to you, Johnny.
I love you, brother. I'll give you do the address as soon as we're done here today.
We found it. We found it. My wife found it. So
the wife is tracking Johnny's address. That's not good.
Oh yeah, we got a good picture of your house and everything.
Oh no. Okay, so I use this example all the time of Jesse the Body Ventura telling us what we already knew, giving us that hook of how 9/11 was an inside job, we were lied to, and then promoting the idea that the World Trade Center were taken down by particle beam weapons from space because Judy Wood said so.
Now, and that the planes were.
Let's just illustrate a point here. Does that make Jesse Ventura a crazy person or a compromised individual?
Compromised individual. Because they were saying that the planes, but people on the ground did see the planes, but a lot of people say, "Oh no, you didn't see the planes. Those were just holograms."
Yeah,
that's a difficult issue. I'm not seeing sufficient proof either way with that.
And so we certainly can't trust video evidence, and it's just as difficult to have on-site witnesses because are they trustworthy? Are they accurately depicting what they have shared? So right. Listen, with the way
but then again, doesn't matter either way. The whatever hit the buildings or didn't hit the buildings didn't bring them down. There had to be bombs planted inside. Somebody had to plant the bombs. There's the trail of evidence we want to follow.
There was eyewitnesses to the fact that there was construction going on in the building, that there was a contractor in there that was taking out the asbestos.
Hey, was it? Who was it? Was it Neil Bush? One of the Bushes was responsible for the security there, right?
Right.
Marvin,
thank you. That's exactly right. Marvin Bush was responsible for the security there. Seriously?
He changed his security company's name that month from Stratasec to Securicom.
Cute. Well done, John Paul. So, look, the mere fact that two civilian airliners made engineering history and had 3 skyscrapers pancake into their own footprint is just, that's, plenty of ammunition right there.
Not to mention Building 7 which sustained no damage, also came down, which, surprise, was CIA and all sorts of other stuff that was in there that they didn't want anybody to get.
And not hit by anything and destroyed into a pile of dust. It's as open and shut as the flat Earth can be. Going back to the whole idea of is the entire thing a big distraction? The Netflix documentary or whatever it was is called Behind the Curve, which is the silly argument that people talk about when their eyes see a boat disappear on the horizon. And when they're watching, see, it went behind the curve of the Earth. Well, if you get a telescope or a zoom lens and you bring the thing back into sight, you will see that it has not gone behind any kind of curve. It's gone out of your perspective, out of the power of your eyes to magnify it into vision. So, leave it at that. And
John Paul, we are simply
right there.
Amen. We are simply globe Earth skeptics. We are not going to get involved with selling what we don't know. We don't. These scumbags, these Satanists, these Jesuits, these boy buggering, baby eating Satan worshipers stole all the resources and made it illegal for us to try ourselves. So we don't know. We can't verify. We can't validate what it really is. We can invalidate the lies that we've been told. So
it doesn't matter how many perverts they bring in to tell you about it. The truth is the truth. It doesn't matter who's a perv. It doesn't matter. It really, it's great to expose, but get past it. Okay, you know what? This person has a track record of controlled opposition behavior. Leave them out of the equation. Let's talk about the facts. That's it.
And this is the question that we had, and this is what Roy pointed out, is that even when you have somebody like Jake, Tim, whatever his name is,
right,
doing a documentary and exposing something like that, is he still doing the job of the Masonic Luciferian Jesuit machine?
Right. Oh, the 1-2 punch. They set him up with the perps.
Set him up, knock him down.
Yeah.
Set him up and knock him down.
So too, when Tim was on the show, if you notice, he was promoting that guy that was trying to prove that the Earth was flat by going up in rockets. I mean, that's not going to prove anything. And I always thought the guy was kind of nuts to do it anyway. And I was right. The guy ended up killing himself
Well,
with a stupid rocket.
and there is an accusation that is believable to me that I don't have any information to prove for or against, that he was bought off and not killed. So there's a possibility that
That's a possibility too.
There's a possibility he was murdered. There's a possibility because he was a lifelong daredevil. So that's plausible.
Absolutely.
that he was sabotaged and killed. That's one possibility. The bottom line is, the fact is that his death mocks those that question the spinning globe.
Absolutely.
You see what happens when you question the spinning globe? First of all, that's a non sequitur. It's a non sequitur. Questioning the spinning globe has nothing to do with a daredevil dying. They're completely disconnected. They're unrelated. But you still naturally make the association. So it's
the Bill Hicks effect. Yeah.
It is suspicious that Mr. IPS is still so vested in something that humiliates those that question globalism, and I'm saying that tongue in cheek. Okay, so
it's interesting how people start doing that. You know, last night I was reading, almost finished with Bryce Taylor's book, and I came across the chapter where she met up with Mark Phillips and Kathy O'Brien.
Bad experience, right?
It was a bad experience after they supported her. Well, she supported them for I don't know how long, spent thousands, took care of them. And months after thousands of dollars she spent and everything, he turns around and said, your children are not being abused. And told everybody that she was schizophrenic and had a big imagination, that she was not, because he found out that Bob Hope and Henry Kissinger was her controllers. And I think he had something. So I noticed your suspicion about Mark was right, that he was Kathy O'Brien's handler.
Listen, I've got Mark Phillips admitting, to Jewish lawyer and private investigator Ed Opperman that he was being inducted into the Knights of Malta when he found out about the pedos. And he backed out. He pulled out. Not to be... So actually I have this here, so stand by. Let me grab this. Pull this up first. Let me... Professor Walter here. Pause that.
What upset me was that it had Kathy, which I believe Kathy's experience was similar to Bryce Taylor's, but because of Mark's influenced her to believe that Bryce Taylor's
Agreed. Kathy is legit. Mark Phillips was a second controller. It's really awful because you could never really say that to her, because this guy saved her from hell, and yet he was still her handler. So this is him admitting to Ed Opperman he was being inducted into the Knights of Malta. Oh wait, I forgot to stand by. I forgot to. It's unavailable. Let me see if I've got this.
You may have it archived or something, or use archive.org. The time machine.
Fuck's sake. Now I'm going to have to go dig that up because it's not... I have a media folder. God bless me.
I need to know your organization because I've got everything all in one folder, and I need to... One of these days, before it gets too insane, I'm going to have to start cataloging. I guess that's what I need to do, is put separate folders for everything. So when I'm doing your books, Johnny, there's just so much good information, but I don't want to lose it because I'll probably use it in other areas.
Here it is. Here it is. Yeah, boy. Outstanding. I will have to download this. It's at the 1:45:36 mark. Well done, Philip Mobley. And I still didn't share the audio. 1:45:36. Stand by. All right, let me say that I was also annoyed with Opperman. Was antagonistic. He was quite the dick repeatedly through this interview. Don't get mad at me. Well, stop being an asshole. Stop being a typical you-know-what.
I've never associated with a known pedophile. At least I never shared that information with me. I'd only seen it one time, and I didn't actually see the sexual act. But I asked why these little children going up to these rooms. I was inducted into the Knights of Malta, and they told me why, and then they told me who, and I said, I don't know part of this.
Yeah, you backed out, right, pal? You're so brave. There it is. Let's hit that again.
I've never associated with a known pedophile. At least I never shared that information with me. I'd only seen it one time, and I didn't actually see the sexual act. But I asked why these little children going up to these rooms. I was inducted into the Knights of Malta, and they told me why, and they told me who.
So the Knights of not the CIA, the fucking Knights of Malta managed the child rape and trafficking. Meanwhile, we're under the suspicion that it's actually the CIA. So can we then draw the conclusion that is the Roman Catholic Church that owns the CIA and runs them through Knights of Malta, Jesuits, etc.? Okay?
Well, thankfully, Bryce Taylor had Ted Gunderson. At least Ted
Gunderson
wasn't a Mark Phillips.
I don't know what I want to do. Do I want to have both of these, both the audio? So this is just audio.
Hello, Johnny?
Yes, George. You're right on time. You're about an hour late, pal. Listen. This what you have to do, pal, is the plan is, now I have to apologize. I don't stick to this quote unquote religiously. The plan is 11-ish Eastern, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, noon-ish Tuesday, Thursday. So you got to continue to refresh your email and look for that invite. Go ahead, George.
Okay, so a couple of things. So just to correlate this to what you're talking about, in the 1998 Canadian documentary, A Coup Made in America, which dealt with the U.S. coup or the overthrow of the Guatemalan government, they interviewed Ehard Hunt, who was still alive at the time. And he says specifically it was Francis Cardinal Spellman, the Catholic Archbishop in New York City at the time, who basically gave the green lights for an invasion. And he coordinated with the prelates in Guatemala. So something that Hunt said, I know we've covered this before, something that Hunt mentioned is we in the company, i.e., the CIA, have always had this begrudging respect for the Jesuits because they are the premier intelligence outfit in the world, and they have been for centuries.
All right, pal. I will back you up, and got that on my.
We had gotten the okay from Cardinal Spellman to go ahead with this, and I wouldn't presume to trace the lines of authority within the Catholic Church, how they get their information, but they do. And we've always said, in an admiring way, that the Jesuits form the greatest intelligence service in the world. Always have.
All right, so and let me also say that
Always have. I like that. Always have.
I believe he was like Episcopalian or something like that, and it was no less than William Francis Buckley Jr., Yale Skull and Bones Roman Catholic CIA propagandist, Mr. National Review, that brought Everett Howard Hunt into the Catholic communion, converted him to Roman Catholicism. So glad that Philip Mobley had this on here. Okay, I've got it now.
Just going to mention, in case anybody's unaware, about the Knights of Malta that just came up in the Kathy O'Brien scandalous interview there on Opperman. They're not out of that. They were once upon a time operating out of that island in the middle of the Mediterranean called Malta, but their headquarters are right over the hill in Rome from the Vatican. In fact, they've got this fancy old school maze, like a castle maze, with this famous place where you can go and look through a keyhole and see the dome of St. Peter's through their property there in Rome. So they're very well situated, very well close to the Vatican and the control structure in Rome. They have the dominions all over Europe, several different places in Italy, and then smaller places all throughout the whole wide world.
Go ahead, Doc.
I thought recently Francis tried to meddle their business, right? He deposed their
Yeah,
leader.
supposedly there was Francis demanded a reshuffling. I don't know what to believe with all that. Maybe he was putting them back in line. Maybe that was just propaganda. I don't know. But real off the top of my head, two modern history issues. Nobody knows this. The unbelievable mass destruction of the Lockerbie flight. What was the stopover for that flight before it crashed? Malta. Nobody knows that. Malta is
Johnny.
the home. Yes, George.
Sorry for interrupting. Do you remember the old TV show Bewitched with Elizabeth Montgomery?
Please tell me this is related. You interrupted me for this to be related. Go ahead.
Yes, it is.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir, it is. The fellow who played Larry, David White, Darren's boss, he was probably best known for. He did other things like The Twilight Zone and like Have Gun Will Travel. He was a bit actor. Well, anyhow, his son was actually on that flight.
That's crazy. Okay, and so it's David Jr.
I'm not. I'll have to go look it up. It's
And surprising, you can't look at his face unless Getty stamps it. Are you fucking kidding me? All right, is there anything significant about that, or just collateral damage?
Well, it could be. Well, it's a couple of things. It reeks of who was that producer? Of
Cheers.
Kramer?
Yeah.
Cheers, or was it? Oh, okay. Well, I think he could have been involved with not Kramer. Calls it
Frasier.
Frasier. Yes, I'm sorry. it reminds me of that. So you had David White, who was probably his Kozlov was he was Larry, Darren's boss, and his son was on that flight. What is and his son was interestingly 33 years old.
Doing it? Am I spelling that right? Okay, he died at 33. Are you fucking kidding me?
correct.
Are you fucking kidding me?
You spelled it wrong, Johnny. It says a Z, an S, not a Z in Fraser.
All right, that should still come up. One letter. One letter. David Angle. Right? The clown that supposedly, the mastermind behind both Shears and Fraser, and he dies in a flaming wreck on 9/11. And surprise, surprise, he's got a military intelligence background as well as being Catholic. His brother is a pedophile clergyman, like a bishop, I believe, or priest, just a regular priest. His brother likes little boys too, and here he is with one. What a surprise.
And don't forget, Fraser has the most on-the-nose Easter egg, 9/11 Easter egg. There's the scene right there. Just calling it out by flight number and time and
With
everything.
Linda Hamilton voicing the...
Dad, did you happen to check this message?
No, I don't touch that thing.
Hi, it's Laura. We're getting an extra day of rehearsal, so I'm coming in tonight instead of tomorrow. American Flight 11, 10:30. Can't wait. Bye.
Great news. Laura's in town. Who's Laura? Stranger who called my machine by mistake.
Actress Linda Hamilton. And this was... How early? This was 1997. The episode Odd Man Out aired in 1997. Calling out the 9/11, which flight? Was that the actual flight that he was supposed to have died on? I think it was. Right? Gee, that poor guy, he's in the ground somewhere, right? Number one thread behind all this, the Roman Satanic Church. Number one thread. All right, let's hit this. Just preach the love of Jesus from our beloved professor.
Even though we are going to talk about terrible, terrible things in the lectures to come, and I'm telling you again, it'll be like you have never heard it before. And people might say to me, why are you concentrating on what the evil side is doing? Why not just talk about Jesus? I wish I could do that. I wish I could talk just about Jesus. But there's a problem. How would you feel if you had a child that you really, really loved? Let's talk about love. Let's say you had a child and you really, really loved that child. But you know that that child is busy with wrong things. And that child is going to be destroyed if it carries on along that path. How would you feel? What would you do? It's no point saying to the child, Mommy loves you, because the child is infatuated with whatever it's doing.
I would go a little bit more harsh than that. I would say, as what I've said several times before, it is a fool. It is someone who is evil that presents the gospel of Jesus Christ, call it, say, I'm showing you the mansion that Jesus Christ has prepared for you. Excuse me. It's way over there. It's way over there. It is the satanic fool or the malicious demon that points to the mansion miles away and says nothing about the landmines, the punji stakes covered in shit that the Vietnamese used to do to make sure you get blood poisoning, the barbed wire, the moats, the crocodiles, the piranhas, the robbers, the thieves.
Wait a second.
Yeah, what is it?
George, then John Paul. Go, George, quickly.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Are you talking about the Pelosi mansion in San Francisco?
Yes, I am. Well done, George. George actually having a sense of humor today. Yes, and no idea how Dave DePapa managed to get past all that in order to hit Paul Pelosi in the head with a dildo. I mean, a hammer. Go ahead, John Paul.
And of course, he damaged him so badly, Paul so badly, he was able to speak at Joe's, not his inauguration, his State of the Union thing.
Good for you. Good for you. This is why I stopped my Twitch to bring George back. Go ahead, John Paul.
By the way,
one more, George, and then let John Paul go. Go ahead, George.
It's not Inspector Clouseau. It is Chief Inspector Clouseau.
Yeah, you took over. Go ahead.
Great clarification. I was just going to make reference to the Pilgrim's Progress, which I know Bill is going to jump into soon with the Liberty Bells. It'd be like telling them all about the Celestial City, not about the Slough of Despond or the Giant Despair, a Doubting Castle, or the Battle with Apollyon, or any of the trials and tribulations that must happen to a Christian on their walk. So, yeah, very foolish to candy coat the Christian walk for somebody. What you can say is that you can be freed of the burden of guilt for your past right away. And that's enticing enough, but it's not a cakewalk. It's sharing in the suffering of Christ.
Amen. Well put.
Nothing's more nauseating than seeing a smiling preacher getting up there with a syrupy message and saying, "Oh, God loves you so much," and just syrupy.
Yeah, who's that guy on Fox News?
Let's all sing "Kumbaya" and all that stuff. And
Jeffress. Have you ever seen that guy, Jeffress? He's got that tone that they're bringing up there. Anyway.
But it just is more.
And he's on Fox. What a shock!
Constantly coming on for fraud news. Oh my goodness! But yeah, even just the tone of his voice. I think I remember using him as an inspiration for a phony Christian pastor in a performance on stage one time. Robert Jeffress, if you ever heard it. Never talks
what
about
a
the Antichrist.
What a surprise that fraud, that Rupert Knight of Malta, I like him blind, would bring someone toxic to Christianity on to fraud news.
I think he's one of the Trump laying hands on
He is.
Trumpers. Yeah.
He is. Hang on, I'll share this clown's picture.
He's a female Paula White.
A male Paula White.
I beg your pardon, a male. Okay, I realize you started 2 hours ago, but there's one thing I'd like to mention before we sign off, if we could.
Going
around the horn.
You have 1 minute and you wasted 30 seconds of it with your intro. Go.
Okay. Michael Rolfer is on the board, is the CEO, or was the CEO of First Republic Bank in San Francisco. They've declared bankruptcy, or they're going to be declaring bankruptcy. And Roffler got not only did he get his undergrad degree from Marquette University, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, which is Jesuit, he's also on the board of directors for the American Heart Association. So when we spoke a few days ago, we're talking about all these financial institutions that are having problems, such as Silicon Valley Bank in San Jose, California, and how Roger Dunbar, who was the CEO there until he retired last year, got his undergrad degree from Santa Clara University. So say last week or so, you've had at least 5 banks in the world, most in the United States, that have gone under. Okay, maybe we can pick this up the next time we're on air.
Put what up?
we can talk about why is it all these banks are going under.
Yeah, you can give a summary right now.
Well, I could do it before, but I would refer people to Penny LaRue's 1984 book called "In Banks We Trust." Even though it came out almost 40 years ago, it's still applicable to today. Now, even though LaRue was a Roman Catholic, now she lived from 1940 to 1989. She said, at least since no later than the year 45, since the end of World War II, the Vatican has been running the world financially. Not only that, the Vatican has, the Vatican and the United States have been financing all the wars in the world, all the revolutions, all the coups.
Well, listen, George. The only way that's getting published is if Penny LaRue were a Roman Catholic. So,
okay. So, you're talking earlier about the Knights of Malta. Well, most of your people who run these institutions, like the Bank of America, Chase Manhattan, J.P. Morgan, the Guggenheim Bank, which went under back in the 80s, almost all of whom were Knights of Malta.
You mean they were Jewish, right?
Well, they may have had a few Jews involved.
Yeah, a few managers. Okay. I will track that down. In the meantime, I'll bring up something that was kind of big. I feel bad that when we have a weekend that goes the way it did, because it seems that the Hawk can only be with us on weekends, and I blew an opportunity with what happened, and it is what it is. So here we are with the rest of the team. Hawk showed up. When was this? Back on this past Saturday? What's today? Yeah, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, with the revelation that, share it with you.
Yeah, he's been putting in some pretty interesting shorts.
You muted in mid-sentence, pal. He's been putting interesting shorts and what?
He's been putting interesting shorts like film clips and commercials and stuff like that. But for some reason, he doesn't really expound upon them. I mean, you and I and John JP, we know what he's trying to convey.
That's a very valid point, pal. That's a very valid point. You should bring that up to him.
Yeah. I mean, have you noticed that too? Or is that just
yeah. It's you should explain to him that he needs to explain it. Is that what he's showing, he already knows the meaning of, but he's not seeing it from the eyes of his audience that may not know the significance of it. It's a very valid point.
Because he's got some really good stuff on there. He showed a scene from a movie with that guy that has the lead in Guardians of the Galaxy. What is his name? Played Star Child or something.
Chris Pratt,
and he plays like a professor, and they were talking about how these aliens were taking people away. I forgot what movie it's from, but it had some really good information. But I think, if he explained himself a little bit more, I think a lot of his viewers would understand.
Right. The clip on its own.
I know what you're thinking.
So.
Oh no, Thor's in a cage. How did this happen? It's a long, magic, colorful Infinity Stone thing.
I have to say, I did rewatch Thor 3 Ragnarok the other day, and it honestly now is at a point where I don't know that I can watch it anymore. I don't know that I can loop it anymore, because they just absolutely blew this Tessa Thompson, the Black Valkyrie, just blew her 10 ways from fucking sundown. She vanquishes the Hulk. She vanquishes Thor. She vanquishes everybody except for Hela. Go ahead, Doc.
It's even worse in the latest movie.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. That was the indicator of where to, what's his name, Chichi Takichi or whatever the fuck that clown's name is, that directed it, was taking these movies. They just blew her, just sent miles of smoke up her ass. Enough already. I can't watch it anymore. But this is fascinating. Fine. So, what I have said in the past, that of these movies, of all the, including all the Captain America and the Avengers combined, for a while, this was my number one. This was my favorite. I did enjoy this tremendously. There were a lot of metaphors that spoke to me. And in particular, this playing out, this Surtur, who is clearly some form of devil, and Hela, that appears to be a metaphor for the whore, Rome, the harlot, is absolutely unstoppable, draws her power from Asgard as Rome draws her power from the United States, which, by the way, is proof that she will never destroy the United States. It's where all of her power is. And it's a no-win scenario. And what does the hero do? He actually gets the devil to destroy the woman riding the beast. And so I just really found that profound and significant. And I don't know if I can grab it.
Son of a bitch, you're still alive. I thought my father killed you.
I cannot die. Not until I fulfill my destiny and lay waste to your home.
Asgard up in flames, falling to ruins, and you, Surtur.
Yeah, this is, I don't know why this fucktard edited this. This is really annoying. I wanted the entire clip. As a matter of fact, the scene where I'm pretty sure.
Center of all of
with the eternal flame, I shall be restored to my full might. I will tower over the mountains and bury my sword deep in Asgard.
Okay, so where is it?
Yeah, I don't know why this fucktard edited this. Just let it play out.
This crown?
This is my crown, the source of my power.
Oh, that's a crown. I thought it was a big eyebrow.
But Ragnarok has...
Fuck this moron. And this is the only one I could find. And the critical part where he goes into... the CGI character goes into his face...
I am Asgard's doom, and so are you.
Now, when I watched that spoke directly to me.
I am Asgard's doom, and so are you.
So, why would he tell the hero that the hero is going to destroy his own world? This plays into how Batman the Vigilante is the protector of the status quo. Wants to make sure that there are no other... Batman the Vigilante, his job is to crush vigilantes. According to Chris Nolan, okay? So, I could not believe that the Hawk found... I've watched this movie 20 times and had no idea that it's Roy's brother doing that. Doesn't even sound like him.
It doesn't.
It does not sound like Roy's brother, Clancy Brown. And yet, sure as shit, Clancy is credited. With doing this voice.
Now that I know, I can tell, I can recognize the voice now. Especially at the end when he destroys Asgard, I can tell it's Clancy's voice.
Says Thor is the son of Odin. Sorry.
Go again, pal. Go ahead.
It says there that Thor is the son of Odin. We brought up Odin in the old One Eye, Black Eye Club discussion a couple of streams back. For those that missed it, go check it out.
Good for
and
you.
Thor in this movie, Thor does lose one eye.
Right. Just
We're
like
fulfilling the prophecy.
I hate this prophecy.
So do I, but we have.
It's like the wrong eye.
The people are safe. It's all that matters.
We're fulfilling the prophecy.
I hate this prophecy.
So do I, but we have no choice. Surtur destroys Asgard, he destroys Hela so that our people may live. But we need to let him finish the job, otherwise... No.
Hulk, stop! Just for once in your life.
Let's go!
All right, so, and this is the interplay that I don't think anyone covers. That Satan hates his harlot and she hates him. And he is the ultimate source. That just blew my mind that Hawkeye found that this is Clancy Brown. I could not believe it. Now, I want to remind everyone also an interpretation of mine that I haven't heard, no one shares with me. Revelation 17, verse 16. What specifically turns the beast against the harlot? The 10 horns that are 10 kings without kingdoms. I have always thought that these were indicative of Jesuit provincials. And I found this from Crux Now, 2014. The Jesuits have to merge their 10 United States provinces down into 4 because they're bankrupt from paying off too many raped children, raped little boys and their families. How about this from American Magazine? Do the Jesuits know that the number of provinces are prophetic? You bet they do. You bet they do. Even Arturo Surtur himself.
Lo que hemos llamado la reestructuración de la compañía.
By the way, this is a different restructuring. That was 2014. There's another restructuring based on this is a great look for you, based on the changing missions of the Jesuits. And then finally I had this from Walter again. The eternal flame of Lucifer.
Up against the walls, which we don't even have to talk about. This is a very interesting one. This is the flame of Lucifer. This is the flame of Baal. What's it look like? It looks exactly like an Olympic torch. Exactly like an Olympic torch. In fact, they just lit one the other day, if you watch television, and they said a prayer to whom? Apollo, the sun god.
That guy's expression.
Whom?
All right. Anyway, All right, guys. So this was absolutely, the Hawk is just amazing. And this was absolutely fascinating to me. I don't know if anybody else that has expounded on this, has this take, and stuff like this, just shores it up for me. Guys, I don't know if you have anything to add. I'm ready for the next topic if you don't.
Well, just before we close out for the day, do we want to make mention of they're gonna drag Drumpf into a police precinct tomorrow, ensuring his reelection to presidency next go round? I don't know if you've seen anything on it. They're drumming it up for 2 weeks now, and it's like their hands are tied. There's nothing they could do. They've got to drag him out in handcuffs and mugshot him and everything. That's the latest news, and I'm sure he will skate eventually. But it seems like the left is like a wet dream for the left to finally have their vengeance on the evil orange Trump, and it's going to be the very thing that undoes them in the next selection, which he's already been selected for. Is my prediction. He'll be the president again. But yeah.
Well done, George. I muted you momentarily, and I'm muting you again. I'm muting you so that you don't cough into the fucking microphone, George. Unmute when you're ready to speak. Stand by. Listen, they are desperate. They are desperate. This is, if anything, pal, great point, John Paul. This is indicative of how they're not through with this pedophile. They needed the orange phallus for the corona hoax. They then cunningly swapped him out with Pedo Joe so that he could ratchet it up. Not just the corona hoax, but also gun laws, ATF ratcheting it up, even though the orange phallus openly promoted the red flag law bullshit. They had to have their openly hardcore far left communist, Pedo Joe and his hoe, come in after the 4 years. And this, to me, it certainly looks like they're lining this guy up to come back.
Johnny.
Go, George.
Okay, this reminds me, now, regardless of whether Trump actually gets arrested or anything like that, it reminds me of a couple of things. Of July the 26th, 1953, when Fidel Castro was arrested and went to prison for like a year or so for an abortive coup, which the CIA backed. Also, 30 years earlier, 100 years ago, you had the so-called beer barrel push, in which Adolf Hitler was arrested and spent some time in prison. So it garnered empathy or sympathy for these figures, Castro and Hitler. And it's pretty much a fait accompli. They're going to reinstall Donald Trump next year. And I find it inexplicable, people who are right-minded, who are still supporting him. You know, they said, well, I voted for him in 2016, 2020, the election was stolen, all that sort of stuff. But don't worry, he'll come back in next year and save the day. And you're right. There seems to be a great deal of cognitive dissonance, specifically regarding Donald Trump. Now, we know that Joe Biden is, how should I say this? Joe Biden is Joe Biden. He's always been Joe Biden. Whereas Donald Trump, they've repackaged him. They pulled, say, within the last decade or so, say 8 years, they pulled a Ronald Reagan on him. He went from being a lifelong Democrat, pro-abortion, all that sort of stuff, to now he's Mr. Conservative. And they said they did the same thing with Ronald Reagan back in the 1960s.
Yes, valid points. Well done. There's a whole list. There's a very long list of people that were imprisoned before they became big or were big, went to prison, came back. The Nelson Mandela, the namesake of the Mandela effect. And that's a big part of that. Even Fritz Springmeier and how much of this that he is actively, knowingly involved in? Is he knowingly involved in being a distraction? I don't. It's hard to say. Is he sincere? Is he legit? Is he putting out exactly what he has? So I don't know. But there's a very long list. Schmeat Wave says Superman is now homo, black, trans, in a wheelchair. Okay, wait a minute. That's a funny skit, by the way. But listen, it's their job. It's their job not to inspire. It is their job. So all this, the DC, Marvel, Disney, all that stuff, it's their job to set you up for inspiration and then twist you and send you down the wrong road. What was that? That was James Bond. That was a James Bond skit. What was the name of that skit? It's freaking hilarious.
Well, also, didn't Judy Mikovits, allegedly go to jail for like 5 minutes?
Yeah, good for you. Good for you.
And she's the face of the corona hoax controlled opposition. Or she's the medical face of the corona hoax controlled opposition. Because viruses are real. Germ theory is valid.
Very anecdotal, but what was the only #1 selling album which the artist was actually incarcerated when it hit the #1 charts? All Eyes on Me, Tupac Shakur. It's the same move Trump's about to pull right here.
Good for you. Good for you. What did I have here? What is this?
It's on the chat. Sure.
I just can't see that happening, but hey, it's possible.
What's in the chat?
James Bond 2022.
Oh,
what's the name of it again? I can't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah.
In the Zoom chat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it is.
Leave it to Doc. Thank you. Leave it to Doc.
Yeah.
All right.
Good job, Doc.
Whoops. Let's get rid of that. Hold on.
Okay, I know we've
hang on. I'm playing this. Hang on.
Boss, we have 007.
Excellent, Nikolai. Bring in Mr. Bones so I can look the man in the eye who killed my brother.
Duh.
I'm gonna have to
Victor Dragic. You look a lot like your brother from behind.
Mr. Bond, I've been waiting a long time to meet you. Who is this?
I'm Bond. James Bond.
Okay, very funny joke, Nikolai. Seriously though, where is Mr. Bond?
Are you insinuating that a half-black, half-Mexican, transgender, homosexual, disabled dwarf who identifies as they/them can't be a James Bond? Is that what you're saying to me?
No, I just thought that you would be...
What? A straight white male? It's 2022, sweetheart. Get over yourself.
All right, this is hilarious. I will archive this. Thank you, Doc. Leave it to Doc to find this. All right, George, quickly. We gotta wind up, or else I'm gonna have to edit this for Shit Shoot, which is an absolute waste of my fucking time because Shit Shoot is just loaded with Jew baiting Catholic trolls. Loaded. Go ahead, George, quickly.
And of course, George Soros is responsible for everything.
Yes, he is.
And of course, so we'll have to do another show on how many people who've gone to jail or prison before they became famous or famous. They were locked up, then they came back and became more famous, like James Baker, like Chuck Colson, Hitler, Fidel Castro.
Yes. Good. Well done. Colson was there on my list as well. Colson, talk about a Jesuit insurgent, lay Jesuit insurgent, Mr. Ecumenism. I want to mention this.
Sacrificed lamb. He's the one that they had. Somebody had to go to prison, and he was elected.
Right. So this came from Flying Monkey Brian. The more I see this, okay. remember Mike Gill, General Flynn. I guess that's his first fucking name, General. The piece of shit is retired. And when he was in, he ran the Defense Intelligence Agency, okay? The military equivalent of the fucking CIA. And nobody brings that up. Michael Thomas, Irish Roman Catholic Flynn. He's Roman Catholic? No, he's pagan. He's Luciferian. Okay, if there is anything negative about him.
Instrument of those sevenfold rays and all your archangels. All of them. And
hey, well done. I didn't notice that. The subtitle here, Gnosticism and Mithraism before becoming incorporated into the Catholic Church. Okay. Well done. I was going to criticize this
It sounds like he stole that prayer from Elizabeth Clare Prophet.
Yes, and ultimately it's Jesuit.
Word for word. Yeah,
ultimately, this is Gnostic, exactly what this says. I'm so glad I paused it right there. Exactly. This is not just simple-minded, Satan-worshiping Luciferian. This is Jesuit. This is who they are. Okay?
Is it hardcore Roman Catholicism compared to Episcopalianism?
Amen.
Catholic life?
Well done. Well done. All right, and two more things. This is from Jen. Much love to you, Jen. I may have to run a little bit over to get this in. I want to get this in. And I don't know if Jen is, what was the other? Jen shares a profile picture with, was it Wonderful Wycliffe? So I don't know if this is Jen from two different profiles, but this is definitely her. Oh, did I delete it? No. So drawing my attention to the Stu Peters show on Gab. 8 million plays. And here we still have him pushing DeMar is dead even after DeMar made his guest appearance at the Super Bowl. Oh, I'm sorry, that was his clone. Could he have his audience members sounding any more stupid? Look at this cavalcade of frauds and pretenders and Sherry Tenpants. Who else? Former Special Operations Officer. Is that who this blonde actress is supposed to be? Is this G.I. Jane? Are you for real with this? They had... here she is, Maria Z. Jane Boobies. Look at this cavalcade. And here she is, Mikovits. On and on and on. 8 million views from the Jew baiters over at the Catholic Jew baiters, Torga, whatever that clown's name is. Oh, it's Satan. Oh, the Satan worshipers. Special Forces Blonde is going to warn us about the Satan worshipers. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Multiple videos on Dead DeMar, and he's over there waving at us. To set you up like the fools that you are.
Stupiders and stupiders.
Yeah, well done. Well put. Thanks to Jen. I think it was Jen.
Okay, Johnny.
Go ahead, George.
I know that David Weiss, a.k.a. Flat Earth Dave, I know he's been on there at least once.
Well, listen, I want to be... Thank you, pal. I want to be careful with that guilt by association stuff that Jake the Asshole does all the time. We don't do guilt by association. Names, places, and dates. I interviewed Dave, and I thought it was a fantastic interview. Okay? But what that can do, George, is that can be indicative of the machine having an ulterior motive. Could be nothing more than promoting a Jew, even though he's outstanding in his field. Dave Weiss is outstanding on attacking spinning globes. Andy Kaufman is outstanding on Real Health, with the exception of both of them, with the exception of them not being Christian. Particularly Andy being an ethnic Jew and yet a religious New Ager.
Well, the problem with I prefer to call him Andrew to differentiate him from the actor and comedian. But that's just me. Okay, so I know that he's hosted or has been a villain on.
He's huge. Alex Jones. He's been everywhere though. It's not just Alex Jones. Go ahead.
Okay, so that somehow, when you share some of the material, or when I try to share some of the material that he's supposed to sit, wait a second, hasn't he been on the Bill Hicks show? So gee, that makes sense.
Okay, so maybe that was done to discredit the value of his work. That's possible as well. All right, so let's close things down because I'm already over time, and hopefully I can catch this without having to edit it. All right, quickly, listen, I'm not going to go around the horn because I got to close out, or else I'm going to pare this down for shit shoot, which is a waste of my time already. Guys, fantastic job. Good to see everybody back. Lord willing, we will pick this up tomorrow. Hopefully,
the left is getting played with Trump's arrest this time, and it's all a big show.
I haven't even heard that, pal, and
I haven't
you bet.
either. It's a circus. It's going to be a big circus.
He might as well be a president-elect.
Yeah. Deeply disturbing, and clearly that they're going to use this guy again. So we'll keep on the lookout for it. Well done. Well done to everyone. Well done to all my beloved Airborne Simians, my dear friends and co-workers, co-hosts here. And Lord willing, you will see us again tomorrow. In the meantime,
thanks everybody. Nice to meet Mike. Take care, guys.
Love you guys. Be strong and courageous because resistance is rising.
Amen.